Evening, everybody. Oh, good evening, everybody. Hang on, I got to get this off my screen now. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 18th, 2023 meeting of the Landmarks Commission. Item A on the agenda is that this meeting is available on Zoom, and if you go to the city website and click on meetings and agendas and click on landmarks, you'll see the link right there. Item number B, roll call. Stephanie, looks like everyone's here basically.
For Alder Johnson.
Correct. Who's excused? Okay. Item number C, do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda or any comments on tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Having a motion to approve in a second, all those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Are there any nays? Is anyone opposed? Seeing that no one's opposed, the motion carries to approve tonight's agenda. Approval of the minutes from the September 13th, 2023 meeting. Comments or?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Susan? Okay. Okay, who seconded it?
Rebecca.
Okay, there we go. Having a motion and a second, all those in favor of approving the minutes from September 13th, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Is anyone opposed? Are there any nays? Seeing that there's no one opposed, the motion carries. Okay, item E. E number 1, certificate of appropriateness 23-58. Consideration with possible action on design review for an architectural makeover located at 412-414 Porlier Street. Jason.
So here you see, of course, the location. We're not sure which alderperson district it's in, but we've narrowed it down. That's a photo of the house a couple years back. It is a contributing property in the Astor Historic District. Under the National Register nomination, it's listed as a vernacular style, which is, you know, not high style, but, you know, just looking at it, what it appears to be here is kind of a low style colonial revival, but vernacular. The proposal is to remove siding, add stone and stucco in the highlighted pink and blue areas, and to give the building a Tudor revival style makeover. Within your packets, I think you'll see in the little staff report, there was some information about a timeline with this building when it was first observed and the changes being made. The work has begun prior to an application for a COA. Currently, that front little entry wing, if you will, the vestibule 2-story bump out there, that's been given I guess it's what, a sheetrock, and the stone veneer has been applied about up to hip height underneath those first-story windowsills. So, I guess jumping ahead, the Secretary of the Interior takes a dim view of altering the architectural style of a building that's, you know, historic for what it currently is or was. You know, if you look at the 7 aspects of integrity, the character of this house is, as best we know, as a vernacular style colonial revival. And with that in mind, it would just be inappropriate for the Secretary of the Interior to give it a new style to alter its character, unless, of course, that was done like 100 years ago, in which case, hey, great, it happened during the historic period, then we celebrate that. That's me giving you the letter of the preservation philosophy in this country, but as always, it's up to you whether or not you'd like to approve this. The recommendation is to deny.
Who? Can I speak?
They'll open the floor.
Okay.
Move to open the floor.
Okay, I will make a motion to open the floor for discussion.
Second that.
Okay, having a motion and a second, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Okay, the floor is considered open. Go ahead. Whoever was asking to speak.
Okay. This is Pat Drury, and the question I have is, when you say the style, the person who says it's this, who is it?
So at the time of the National Register nomination, all the properties were documented.
Yep.
In some fashion. Essentially, that National Register nomination that was then acted upon documents what a baseline is. Now, we don't necessarily have historic information before that. We can, research as best we can, but any proposal to change the style needs to be backed up by historic research to justify that change. So it'd be to say, hey, we know once upon a time it was Tudor revival. At some point, all of those elements were lost, and now we just have aluminum siding. And now, based on documentary evidence, we're returning it to that style. That the Secretary of the Interior gives a big double thumbs up to. The notion of just changing the style without that documentary evidence is what they would call a conjectural feature. And the Secretary of the Interior Standards is very double, quadruple thumbs down on that. Now, the burden of proof to say, hey, it did used to look like this, and I'm just doing it right by itself, that's on the property owner. It's not on this commission or the city to prove that it was always as it was in 1980 when it was nominated to the National Register.
Okay.
So that's where that's at.
So the Secretary of Interior isn't an actual person that's on your committee or in the city of Green Bay. That's someone that did this back in the 80s.
The Secretary of the Interior is an office that's inhabited by an actual person.
Okay,
The keeper of the National Register, I don't know the name right now. Actually I do, but I'd have to, I'm bad with names. Our local ordinance says that, we must approve of COA applications unless certain things happen. And when we evaluate a COA proposal, one of the things we evaluate that against per our ordinance is the Secretary of the Interior standards for
okay.
preservation, rehabilitation, all that kind of stuff. Those standards are the ones that are very explicit in saying maintain the 7 aspects of integrity, and conjectural features are a no-no, and what I've presented to the commission.
Okay, so with that said, if you can go back to the picture of the house,
Do you want the ones that you had supplied or the?
the ones that you guys had up there just a minute ago. So I'm not sure where the pink and the blue came from, because that doesn't help a whole lot.
That came from your COA application.
Yeah, then Renee did that. That's not quite right. But anyways, so when you look at this particular house, the bottom half of the aluminum siding that was put on, I'm not sure when. I'm not sure when that was done. I don't know if the original when it was done. Do you know when the house was actually built? 50s?
No, it's
No.
older than that. I forget what it says in the staff.
The record
It's-
says 1920.
No, it says 1937.
Okay,
Oh, so the National Register, whoever wrote that, and I know that name too, but they put down circa 1920. I did some research and I found in the local newspaper, the permit was secured in 1937. This is me doing my time travel in my head. That 1937, of course, is still in the historic period of significance, and it doesn't alter the fact that this was identified as contributing and still is contributing.
so the aluminum siding that's on it wasn't put on in 1937.
Probably not, probably wood
Okay.
siding.
So the aluminum siding that's currently on the bottom half of the building is in trouble. Corners, damage, years. So at the middle window of the second floor, the siding up in the peak has never been damaged. I'm going to be taking that siding off and putting stucco look on there with batten boards to give it a Tudor style because of the 14-12 pitch on the front of the house. Front of the house, I'm gonna put stone on. So and then I'm gonna paint what remaining siding I have a beige color with white windows and give it the look that I deem as homeowner is appropriate. Now, according to Paul and the building inspection department, as a homeowner, not as a contractor, because I own this home, I have the right as a homeowner, I'm not talking about your board, I'm talking about building inspection. Building inspection says I can put siding, roof, stone, windows on without a permit, being the owner of the property. So I don't need any permitting from him. So when I went and talked to him about that, he says, then I gotta fill out a HOA or whatever. Yep, which we did. Which then I was informed by my son that we weren't gonna pass that before I got here. I already knew that I was denied before I got here.
We don't know that. The recommendation is to deny.
It's denied. So my question is, this actually has been, one of the, toughest looking houses in this area of Astor Park. Next to my house when I redid that over the last year. So as an investment, I'm trying to turn this house into something that fits the neighborhood with period correct look. I'm using stone from the quarry here in Wisconsin, or on Scrays Hill. I'm gonna turn this into a Tudor style. I'm going to put a new roof on it. And I'm gonna own this for years to come with my family. So I'm not quite sure how this commission can deem necessary that I have to stay with that siding that was not put on originally. The windows aren't correct or original. There's some with moles at the top, there's some on the bottom right, but the window's been replaced. So this has been put together haphazard through the years. So I'm trying to beautify not only the neighborhood, but my investment. So I'm requesting that I do get approved to turn this into a period correct Tudor style duplex. And that's what I'm in process of doing. And I believe that it will actually enhance the neighborhood much more than what it's doing now. So we can go by a landmark commission based upon something from 1980, and the house hasn't changed since 1980. And we can add more value to the neighborhood, and anybody that's come through can see what we're doing. So I'm requesting approval of what I'm doing to this duplex. We're putting stone in the front peak. We're at the second window line, we're gonna do a ribbon around and stucco the top, and it's gonna look like a really cute little Tudor style when I'm done. Now, we can come up with all kinds of terminologies of what this thing was built for when it was built, but it's a duplex. It's a duplex with 5 different kinds of vinyl windows in it. It's a duplex with damaged siding and a terrible roof. So I'm requesting, if it takes a variance or whatever, to turn this duplex into what I see it. And most people here, I think, have seen some of the stuff we've been doing in the Astor Park area. We're not doing anything to harm anybody. And everybody in this neighborhood is loving what I'm doing in this house. So you can tell me a landmark commission from 1980 ruled on something and say I have to stick with it. But that's going to be an issue because I see higher value, not only as an owner of the property, but in actually the historic side of it in regards to Astor Park. So I think at this point, I'll turn it back to the board, but I strongly request that we are able to continue what we're doing to save this duplex.
This is David Siegel. I'm one of the commission members. I'll speak a little bit to what you just said, sir. Hey, there's no question what you're proposing would make it a very attractive building. It would improve the value. And one thing, just to clarify, whatever was done in 1980 was done without any structural guidance from the city, preservation, landmarks commission. People just did whatever they deem fit, which is why you've got aluminum on that, which is inconsistent with the style. The issue that you're running up against, and I certainly would like to hear your response, is that Jason talked about the ordinance, and our ordinance is backed up by those standards that come from the Office of the Secretary of the Interior. And what is an imperative from those standards is preservation. Preservations of materials, preservations of a sidewalk view, and in particular, in this case, preservation of a style. And while you're talking about something that's laudable, you're talking about changing the style, which is contrary to what drives this commission and our rules. So I'll let you respond to what I had to say.
Well, I understand your concern about change of style. It was changed in style in the 80s when someone put aluminum siding on it.
No, it was not.
What do you mean it wasn't?
So there's a change in material,
Yes,
but
And-
you haven't provided any documentary evidence to say that the style changed.
well, if you look at the picture that you posted, you have a 9-inch aluminum siding When I'm sure back in 1937, that wasn't the style of siding.
So when we talk about style, we talk about the architectural style.
Mhm.
And odds are, best I can say, in 1937, it was probably a mild colonial revival, which is what you still see up until quite recently. Granted, the siding exposed
Mhm.
face probably not matching what was originally there.
Correct.
But at no point have we seen any evidence that it was ever Tudor in any fashion. And that's,
No, I would agree with you. The Tudor is my vision. The Tudor is my vision of what I believe this house can be and should be. And if that's in again, in a direct, issue with the commission, we might be at a standstill, but I think that what we're doing is bringing value to the neighborhood, the building, and it is historically correct. In the time when this house was built, a lot of houses were built like this.
and that is by definition a conjectural feature, which is explicitly prohibited by Secretary of the Interior standards.
Well, then we have to change the standard.
Above my pay grade. Yes, please do.
Can I say something?
Well, the floor is open, so Ron, there's someone else in the audience who'd like to speak.
Sure, go ahead. Who's on that? Okay, go ahead.
Just please give your name and address.
My name's Al Hicks and
Thank you.
I'm the immediate neighbor of 902 South Madison Street. When I go around and look at our neighborhoods, I see houses that are wonderfully historic and I see houses that are garbage. When I bought this house, 902 South Madison, that is the Joanne's house. You know, we did a ton of work to it, wanting to give back to the neighborhood, the city, et cetera, and be the next caretaker of that house. When we bought the house that's in question today was by far the ugliest house in the neighborhood. And it was my next door neighbor. And if I was ecstatic with what I saw, because it didn't change it may have changed the style of that house, but it didn't change the style of what's in the neighborhood. And the problem that I have is that if we're gonna go by what the Secretary of the Interior or whatever his role is, and he lives in Washington, DC, doesn't live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, certainly doesn't live next door. And this is a disaster if this gets denied because of some rule that is put in that nobody has to live around. If we're not careful as a committee, this committee right here, we are going to demand that people adhere to a standard that they cannot fix their houses to and will not be able to improve the neighborhood, but it will go back to the way it was in the 80s and 90s when there was 3 and 4 family homes because no one was willing to put any money into them because everybody was moving to the suburbs. We've had a revival in the neighborhood, and the last thing we want to do is stop that revival and then go back. This isn't changing the era. This is just changing the style of this particular house to keep it in the era of when it was built. We've got to really do some soul searching if we're going to allow what's the department, what's the title?
Of the Interior.
The Department of the Interior in Washington, D.C., who's never lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, certainly never lived on Port Lear or Madison Street, to determine who it is or what's going to happen when we're trying to make things better, not worse. I am very interested in this house improving, but still keeping its period specific time. No different than my house was done. And if you've been by my house, you've seen a ton of improvements. You've been by Pat's 2 properties, you've seen a ton of improvements. And I certainly don't want it to go back to the way that it was, the worst house in the neighborhood.
I mean, you could either keep it the way it is.
Sorry, you had to get your
Oh,
name.
I'm Sally Hicks. I also live at 902 South Madison. You can either keep it the way it is, which is really ugly, or he can improve it. And if, I know there's a rule, but if you're pushing people away from trying to improve things, the city's just gonna go downhill. Cause that house is really ugly. Sorry, Kim.
That's okay. I'm gonna jump back in here. There's an exception to every rule. And a rule that has been done to protect the neighborhood is actually harming. And you can mandate every letter of the law and try and force me to stop what I'm doing to save this building. That's gonna be a litigious project. Because I'm going to save this building. And I've moved into Astor Park and I'm gonna save a lot of buildings. I have 10 more years of what I plan on doing. And I plan on saving a lot of beat up old structures in Astor Park. And if you want to hang me because this is the certain style that was built in 1937, even though it's been changed with windows and siding, I'm not changing the structure. I'm just changing the exterior. And I am bringing in period correct. This will add value to not just that home, but to that area of the neighborhood. So you all can vote whichever way you want. But I'm not gonna turn this building back to what it was. So I'm gonna stand.
Mr. Drury, question for you on your last comment about not turning it back. Are you referring to not turning it back to the materials, similar materials that were there? I believe it was clapboard?
It's a lot, it's aluminum siding. I'm not turning it back to aluminum siding on the peak of that front entrance. No.
Well, I understand the frustrations as well as your neighbors, and I know you're looking at it in terms of this house. But the position of this commission is in terms of preserving things, also protects you from a neighbor who would take advantage of the same argument and do something that would be really inappropriate and really harmful to the neighborhood and also your values, your real estate values. So while in the limited view of your home, Roger, that I get it, yeah, that's frustrating, but there is a big picture here, and that's what we look to maintain.
Matt, can I respond? I am the neighbor. The house is ugly the way it is right now.
It's lowering our real estate value the way it is right now.
And when we go into this, the definition here, it's not changing the era. The era is the same. The new building era is the same. It's not 2023. It's not 2020. It's not 1980. It's going back to the 30s and 40s. I mean, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to dissuade people from improving their houses and their neighborhoods? Because if we keep going down this path, this is exactly what you're going to get. You know, if you did this same thing to me, I just say, guess what? I'll just let it run to crap. And I'll just rent it out. I'll turn it into a triplex. And like it was just before I bought it, the previous owner had a triplex. And if you want it, then I guess what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to maintain very well, just like it was before we moved in this neighborhood, because things look like crap around here. And this was before this commission existed. And we improved it without this commission. But now the commission's saying that you're looking at taking care of me. I don't need taken care of. It's my neighbor. We're trying to make it better. You know, one of the things that's great about Green Bay, it's really historic. I live in one of the most historic homes in Green Bay. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the work that we've done in that house. I'm proud of the work the neighbors have done in their houses, because it's a lot better now than it was. And now you're going to say, let's not make it better. Let's keep making it worse. And when we make it worse, you're going to end up with plight. And the whole point of this is not to make plight. The point of this is also to have some common sense. And if we don't apply common sense, then what good are we? I mean, then we're no different than Washington, D.C. Everybody hates politics. And there's a reason for that. Because politicians, if they're not careful, they go by the letter of the rule, and all common sense is gone. That's where we're going right now. And I would tell you that I can't stress enough, and I think you're getting the passion in my voice here, that this needs to be approved, not disapproved. So we're good, because if it's disapproved or if it's not approved, what are we doing? We're going to end up going back to something that was ugly, but by somebody's definition. We don't even know whose. We don't even know what it was before, but you're saying it's on the homeowner to prove. Why is it on the homeowner to prove? It makes no sense to me. If we're gonna maintain the integrity of the age of the house, we're not turning this into a glass style condo. I mean, everything we've done in our house was, we tried to make it age appropriate. And this is the same thing that Pat is doing on the outside of his house. And I'm grateful because that improves my household value. If we're not careful, the household values are gonna go down because people are gonna say, forget it. It's not worth it. I'll just turn it into a duplex, a triplex, and let it all fall apart. And we've been down that path. City of Green Bay used to look like that. I'm not interested in going back.
So I'm gonna jump back in here, guys, and try and wrap this up for everybody. I believe what I'm doing to this building is historically significant for the era it was built. It might not be the letter of the law. When we first got into a battle with you guys a little bit, it was at my house, the 410 Port Lear, regarding windows. My house was a showcase a couple weeks back. We've inspired quite a few people of what they can do with fixing up houses. And it's not per the letter of law of this commission. I didn't do true divided light windows because I wasn't gonna spend another $12,000 on windows. I really actually thought that I would get a thank you for fixing up a blighted building instead of being called a task that I'm doing something wrong. I'm spending significant money on this house to make it historically correct for the time period it was built. Now, it might not be the letter of the law, and like I say, there's an exception to every rule. So I'm truly begging everybody on this commission to look what we're doing. Because I'll be honest with you, this isn't my first rodeo and this will not be my last. If I see another blighted building that I can buy and fix up, whether it's exactly historic or I gotta stay on the siding that was put on it in the 50s or something like that, because of what I feel is not seeing the big picture, I'll fight it every time. So guys, I'm gonna turn this building into one cool building and I'm not done here. So those of you who know what I do, I hope you give me the blessing. There is an exception to every rule. And this is one of them. So I'm requesting approval on what we're doing to this house at 414 Port Lear. And with that, I'll close.
Can I chime in as a neighbor?
Yes.
This is Liz Clark. I live at 840 South Madison. And I just like to echo my neighbors. Sorry, I haven't met you over at 902. Those two houses were definitely like the ugliest houses when we moved in 2 years ago. And, you know, I really think it's improved our neighborhood. And I feel like we need to use a little bit of common sense to reflect what we want our neighborhood to look like. And so I'm all for what Pat has done at his home and the entryway that he's doing there. So I just wanted to say that I'm for this as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
I would like to say something as well. This is Ron Dean. I'm the chair, and I'm also on the board of directors of the Astor Neighborhood Association. I want to tell you that I also hone in with what these people are saying in our neighborhood is that we can go too far. The reason we're a board is because sometimes we have to make some decisions. What Pat is proposing here is not to change the architecture of this building, just merely the looks by some of the materials that he's using. He's done a wonderful job, as he has said, of turning around some dumps in this neighborhood and keeping our property's values strong. So, you know, as away from being the landmarks commissioner, what I want to say as part of the Astor Neighborhood Association and on the board of directors, that I think he makes some really good points. Thank you, because I just want to add that piece as a neighbor. So
Thank you, Ron.
does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? An open floor? Okay, do we have I'll make a motion to close the floor then and discuss it.
Second that.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor respond by saying aye to close the floor. Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed to closing the floor? Anybody have anything to say? Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, let's close the floor and return as a board. Well, gentlemen, I mean, or ladies and gentlemen, I should say, we've heard some interesting aspects here today. I'd like to know if anybody else has anything they'd like to hone in on or Do you want to make a motion, or does anybody have anything they'd like to add?
Why not just do clapboard siding again?
I beg your pardon?
Just to have siding. I know we closed the floor. Maybe it's too late to ask, but I just don't understand why to change this exterior so dramatically when a white clapboard siding would be a classic look and suitable for that house.
I concur on that. That's, it seems like a reasonable option. It
Yeah.
seems like, he was, uninterested in entertaining that. I do feel that this is going to be changing the style. And while I hear the passion in all these folks's, positions, we've got a law that we have to follow. And it says preserve the style. And we can't play favorites because somebody has done some really good things for this city. We have to hold ourselves accountable to the law that was adopted. And I think you can't diminish the law by saying it's someone in Washington. These are professionals that have established the historic preservation approach in this country. And these are laws that apply throughout the country, similar to construction or fire safety or speed. And in my opinion, this change of style is in conflict with the ordinance and conflict with the standard.
Well said, David. I think that I would concur that, you know, we have a responsibility to uphold the historic preservation ordinance that was established. The ordinance is put in place to protect districts like Astor, to prevent people from doing terrible things to historic properties. Without the ordinance, there would be nothing that would prevent a homeowner of deciding to re-side the Joannes Mansion with all vinyl siding and totally ruin the character of that great historic residence.
We open this floor back up.
The floor is closed.
Fortunately, that didn't happen because those homeowners who've spoken so eloquently tonight did preserve the historic nature of their home. But without these ordinances and these rules, we would be powerless to stop anybody from ruining the historic houses that are in abundance in Astor and several other neighborhoods in the city of Green Bay. I feel as a commission, we have to uphold that ordinance. And I guess I would just point out to the applicant that the appeal process is pretty simple to go to city council. Bring that appeal forward if indeed this certificate is rejected tonight, and this commission can be overruled by council.
Okay. Fair enough.
Anyone else have anything to say?
I'd like to add that, this is Rebecca Durain, that I do understand the feeling of neighbors and their interest in trying to maintain the status and the value of their neighborhood, but the very drastic change that's been proposed also concerns me as well. Again, you know, if there was something that was more, we sort of referenced, Susan sort of referenced the clapboard idea, that might be different. But what I'm seeing here now also concerns me in terms of the commission. It's a difficult place, I understand, to be in as a person who cares and wants to you know, improve the neighborhood and is also make a significant investment in their personal home. But in terms of the commission and the rules and the ordinances that we're obligated to follow, I think it's very clear which way we need to vote on this tonight.
Anyone else? Well, is anyone going to make some sort of motion, or?
This is David. I'll make a motion to deny the COA.
I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor of denying the COA, say aye.
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 I'll go on record of being opposed. I do not see where that alters the building that much, so. Seeing that we have almost all in favor, we have a majority in favor and one opposed. Looks like the motion carries to deny the application to COA. Item number E2,
What's that?
I'll follow up with you, okay?
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's
Sorry.
good.
No, I.
Anything else from you guys? Let's get ready. Here we go.
Item number E2, I'm sorry. Okay, COA 23-59, consideration with possible action on a design review for a porch replacement located at 820 South Quincy. Jason.
20 South Quincy came to your attention as the Landmarks Commission back in May. This effectively is the exact same COA application. It's just back in May when the commission issued a partial approval. That partial approval said that the applicant had failed to demonstrate that the porch columns, railings, and balusters were beyond repair. And, you know, we didn't talk about some other things because it's clear in hindsight that the applicant had a different perspective of what they thought they were doing. Since this time, we, the staff, have received new information showing that one of the columns is arguably beyond repair. I guess the larger issue here is, without rehashing everything that was partially approved, I think that approval said new deck material is fine, but it should be tongue and groove. Come back if you can show that the columns are no good and reuse the railings and balusters. Yeah. Okay, fine. So we now have a picture of a column. I'm not gonna say it is or isn't beyond repair. You see there, it looks like an inconvenience at the very least to try to repair it. The surprise gotcha moment here is that the applicant has gone ahead and torn off the porch in its entirety. That's the porch roof, the ceiling, the railings, the columns. It has no porch at this point. So, surprise. Recommendation stands to reuse the railings and the balusters. We have some vague notion from the applicant that those are still available and can be reused. But the applicant is still kind of insinuating that maybe they'll do as they please. So I can't speak for the applicant. I'm not representing them. Stephanie, what are we looking for here? What's the application for specifically? To replace the columns?
Well, the whole thing.
The whole thing. So the porch is gone. I don't know what the new header is gonna look like. I don't know what the new porch ceiling is gonna look like. I don't have the dimensions on anything. I don't know what is happening here, but we've got a new COA because they tore off the porch and we told them to stop doing that. Thank you.
I would like to add that I was by there today and there already is a new porch in place on the bottom, so.
The second story,
I beg your pardon?
second story has been,
No, not a second story, just the
Okay.
first story porch has been replaced.
yes, that was allowed with the first COA.
And
Okay.
that said that it should be a tongue and groove decking. I don't know that they've done that. I haven't inspected any of this myself.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I just wanted to mention that there is a new porch there in place already. Okay,
So we had some correspondence with the applicant. We said, yes, by all means, you were approved to replace the deck. And that approval specified a tongue and groove, you know, composite material, but I don't know that the applicant understands the applicant's responsibilities at this point.
do we have anyone here representing them today? Are they here or is there anyone on the line or anyone here to speak to that?
I don't see anyone.
Do we want to open the floor for discussion or does anybody want to make a motion or?
I don't completely understand what they're asking. What is the motion for?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think at this point, the motion is to approve substitute columns. But as a friendly person talking to you, I don't really think that's the end of the story. So if you'd like to address the columns, the initial approval in May was to reuse the columns. We have the manufacturer cut sheet for the proposed alternatives. They appear to be, you know, their porch columns. The major difference there is that the proposed replacements lack the egg and dart capital present on the historic wood columns. And, you know, that egg and dart capital is an unusual choice for a column capital, I guess. It's more of an embellished Tuscan column, Tuscan order type column, I think. I'm recalling my orders correctly. So it's not Ionic, it's not Corinthian, it's kind of a fancy Tuscan that you don't tend to see at the store when you're looking for one. Maybe that's okay. I'm not gonna suggest that you die on the hill of. So if you'd like to reconsider the May issue where the columns have perhaps now been demonstrated to be beyond repair.
We did encourage the applicant to come here because they did not come for the last COA application, and that's why I feel like we missed pieces of the puzzle on this. So since he's not here, I think that it's valid if you wanted to also do a hold, if you want more information on the rest of the porch pieces. So that's an option.
I have a question.
Mhm.
As a newcomer, do you guys get to be in your bonnet about fiberglass or plastic instead of wood?
I do personally, but no, the commission has been very consistent in allowing substitute materials as long as the appearance is basically like for like. The appearance and design, you know,
And which registry is this house on? Like
This
this,
would be
is this
the
on the
Esther?
federal? Is this like on the federal
Oh.
historical registry or the state historical registry, or where exactly does it fit in the picture?
It's in the Astor Park District, which is on the national, state, and local registries. Just like the rest of our historic districts.
yeah, it's a contributing property in the Astor National Register District, which is also a state register district, which is also locally designated.
Okay, thank you.
I think the problem I have with this applicant is not necessarily the replacement of the porch columns, which they've shown that they maybe were in marginal condition. It's the lack of effort to reuse the existing railings and balusters, which from the photos appear to, yeah, maybe they need some paint and a little bit of touch-up work, but they certainly look fairly solid. And the problem is if they replace these railings, they're gonna lose the historical character of that porch.
And it's the owner, the railings are apparently still on hand, but I don't know the degree of care that was given to demounting them from the original porch.
Well, but the drawing indicates something different, and that's where I have a problem. It feels like here was an opportunity to repair this porch and rebuild it with a mixture of new materials to replace things that were too far gone and still maintain the historic character of the porch. Whereas it feels like, without any other information, the applicant's simply saying, nope, I'm just throwing everything away and starting over. And that's in contradiction to what we looked at this spring.
The COA that had partial approval specifically called for the reuse of the balusters and rails unless the applicant wanted to demonstrate that they were beyond repair.
And that hasn't been done, demonstrating beyond repair, correct?
Not to my knowledge, no, but I haven't seen them either. I mean, he may have demonstrably destroyed them in the process of removing them, which is contrary to the direction of the commission, so.
I would make a motion that we put this on hold until we can get some additional feedback or information from the property owner.
I would second that.
Okay, having a motion and a second to place this on hold until we receive more information. All those in favor of that motion, repeat by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed to that? Is anyone opposed to holding on? Is anyone? Hearing no opposition, The motion carries to place this on hold until we hear back from the homeowner. Or whoever's doing the work. Item number E3, COA 23-60. Consideration with possible action on a design review for replacement windows located at 130 East Walnut Street, the Bellin Building. Jason.
Bellin Building is a contributing building in the downtown historic district. It's very prominently visible, and it is Green Bay's only remaining Chicago style of architecture on this scale, with the white terracotta facades on two sides anyway. The last time I saw the COA application requesting to replace an unspecified number of windows in unspecified locations.
We have an update.
We do have an update. Oh,
Yeah.
Stephanie, what you got?
So since the packet was sent out, we got updated information from the applicant and the window provider, which is noted here. So we got the VLT rating, which is 79, which is good. And then which windows specifically were being called for replacement. So we're looking at the north and east sides of the building, which are the sides that have that white facade. And then looking at the 8th floor windows on those facades. And then this would be kind of a phased approach where they would like to continue window replacement up through the building, excluding the first level, which has those aluminum big storefront windows. So this is the information we got after the packet was sent out.
So based on this information, I can tell you, as I always tell you, that historic windows, repairing historic windows is the preferred approach of the Secretary of the Interior and all the standards. That's fine. I recognize that the commission has been very, very encouraging and permissive of replacement windows so long as they appear roughly the same. And I'm encouraged to see that the visible light transmittance value here is it agrees with or satisfies the Wisconsin SHPO requirements of 74 or higher, 72, 72. Thank you.
29.
72, I forget,
72.
but no, it's good. 79 is even better. And the goal there, of course, is just to not introduce a tinted or reflective look that would be ahistoric to an historic building. So I guess what I'm saying there is recommendation is to approve.
And we do have the applicant here.
Ooh, brilliant.
I'm sorry, did you say we do have the applicant here?
Yes, the applicant is in the building with us.
Okay, I'll make a motion to open the floor to let the applicant speak if they would like.
Second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, everybody said aye, so the floor is open. Go ahead and speak to us.
I went to great lengths to try to match this building. As people who know me may know, I'm a historian and I've been trying to preserve this building. I'd also like to address, I looked at wood windows because I wanted to go back to the original wood, which is here in the original plans and designs and everything else. The problem we have is that as terracotta gets older, it cracks. And so moisture with wood windows is likely to seep in. And so I was told that by putting wood windows on, we could destroy the whole facade. And my number one priority is to protect the Chicago Tile Company's pieces that are on there. I collect the old pieces, so I have all original pieces. So that's, part, number one to it. Number two is the configurations have been changed over the years. So I shared here in the meeting room the original pictures of the building that show the original design. Now, over the years, they put aluminum stuff in that wasn't equally balanced and was, off center and different sizes. So what I'm doing is taking it all back to the original design over a period of time. And this is going to cost me about $750,000. I could do it for $250,000 if I wasn't true to the original design. So trust me, I am not taking the cheap way out on this, but I am doing what I think is in the best interest of the building. The other thing I want to point out is it's for the 8th and 9th floors. The 9th floor under 36 CFR 67, which is the code I think people are referencing here. If it is not something that you can see from the sidewalk or from a 1,000 foot distance from the building, it is not considered a structural or a historic component. Now, despite that, I'm putting the historic windows up there, but what we're really looking at is a very old mechanical room that's in very poor shape that no one ever sees up at the top. And I just spent $250,000 putting a heat sealed roof on the whole roof to protect the building. I did the same thing on the Vic Theater, which I will be in front of your committee probably multiple times in the next couple of years, because I'm looking at revitalizing and renovating the Vic Theater, which has some challenges to say.
I have a question, a clarification. Is this Mr. Schneider who's speaking?
This is.
Okay, you had mentioned maintaining the history of the windows. Are you referring to, say, the general design of the windows?
General design. Now, I lost on doing that when I did the first floor because the city fought me tooth and nail. I wanted to put wood in there and I wanted to go with the original.
Okay, but staying on this. So,
Yeah.
okay, got it. That's what you meant. Jason, I want to ask you, Mr. Schneider mentioned the hazards of wood going in for wood and the dangers of water seeping in behind terracotta, which of course would be a disaster. Jason, your thoughts on wood being unsuitable?
Well, what I've heard from Mr. Schneider is that the existing windows are not the historic wood windows, but are rather poorly installed aluminum windows.
Okay.
So
we're not losing historic windows, correct?
That's correct. And, you know, with that in mind, I would say, hey, clearly the terracotta facade is the #1 historic piece of material to this building's integrity. So trying to put in new wood windows that aren't historic, that may jeopardize the historic terracotta, that's a non-starter.
All right, the two of you just clarified what's going on very well. Thank you.
Anyone else on open floor? Mr. Schneider, are you done?
Well, I have a lot more to say, but I think on this matter, that's about it.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Now I'll make a motion to close the floor.
Second that.
Having a motion second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there anybody who'd like to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the COA.
Okay,
I'll
Second.
second. Oh,
having a motion and a second, all those in favor reply by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Is anyone opposed? Is anyone against this project? Having no opposition, this motion is approved. So COA is approved, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schneider.
So like, I think you're spending enough to hit the state level. I don't know what your depreciated value is for the federal stuff, but
There's pluses and minuses, and we're
sure.
I'm not so much concerned about the Bellin building. I'm more concerned about the Vic Theater.
Okay.
And we may have some other things I'm working with the city's finance people on with revenue bonding that may actually get a bigger piece of the deal.
We can talk to you about utilizing state tax credits.
Okay.
So I think on your Bellin building, you probably have a compelling case where SHPO would approve of the windows,
Gotcha.
but you know, that's a conversation for another time, I
Yep,
suppose.
yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item number E4, COA 23-62, consideration of possible action on a design review for new commercial signs located at 164 North Broadway. Jason.
We've talked about this building in the past. It's a former cold storage building for a cheese company. The proposal here, it's a contributing building in one of the Broadway districts. I conflate the two, I'm sorry. So is this Broadway Walnut?
This is Broadway Walnut.
All right. So the proposal is to put channel letter signage on 3 facades. 2 of the proposed locations mount to non-historic facade materials. That would be the west facade and the south facade. However, one of the 3 locations, that would be the north facade that's proposed, would mount to historic brick, the one you see here. As far as the sign itself is concerned, I see no obstacles in historic preservation world about the sign. My concern with the north facade sign is that, first of all, there's no mounting information. I don't know what sort of foundation, or more importantly, how many holes are being drilled and where. And since this is a historic brick facade on that north facade, I'm very concerned that what's presented here as identified as individual channel letters, that sounds to me like a lot of holes, not only to mount them, but also to get electrical service to them. So I have a lot of hesitations in recommending approval of the one sign on the north facade. Everything else looks fine to me. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, you lost me there. And how many signs are there altogether?
3.
3, and so you're saying you approved the 2 of them?
Yes, so these 2 are on non-historic brick. This last one. is
Correct.
historic brick.
Yeah.
Stephanie, do you know if anybody from this application is present or online?
Yes, I believe that Liz is here. Maybe not, maybe those are different applications.
Yes, I am.
I'd like to open the floor then.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the floor is open. Liz, go ahead and speak to that question if you could, or.
You know, I don't unfortunately know how many holes would be on that existing or like the historic brick. So I don't have an answer to that.
Well, Liz, my name's David Siegel, one of the commissioners. Just like to ask if in this application you were aware that drilling holes through brick is decidedly frowned upon. Were you aware of that?
I was aware that the brick, that historic brick was probably not going to happen. I was just going off of information that I was told from the owner just to submit on to see if it was a possibility.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Anyone else on open floor? Liz, anything else you'd like to add?
And I can't think of anything else to add to it, no.
Okay. Well, then I'll motion to close the floor.
Second that.
All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to closing the floor? No. Okay, would anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the signs for the 2 non-historic walls, but disapprove the sign on the historic wall because of the damage that would result on historic brick.
I'd second.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. What's your first name? I'm sorry.
I'm Steve.
It
Ron.
is Steve. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I mean, if they could prove that the fasteners are only going in the mortar and not in the brick, would this board typically accept that?
The recommendation would be to approve, yes, if the fasteners can be demonstrated to hit only mortar. That has been approved in the past.
Would it be reasonable, David, I don't want to put in your motion, would it be reasonable to ask them to resubmit with some confidence before we outright deny, or is that not protocol?
I'd accept that in a heartbeat, but in the past, we've had this situation before, and it just seems to work well to deny it. With now that they've got the understanding it can't go into the brick, they come back with a new proposal demonstrating goes into the mortar, not brick, and that sails through. Make
So
sense?
your motion is to approve the 2 sides with the non-historic brick, but deny the 3rd side that it's historic brick.
Correct.
Okay, and then do we have a second on that motion?
I had seconded it.
Wait, I'm sorry, before we take the second, Steve, I think, are you asking, do we want to put a condition in there that if they can demonstrate that, prove that then that it would still be, or would they have to bring it back to the board?
I guess, Ron, it was in the form of a question, because I'm new,
Yeah.
buddy.
Oh, okay, so,
Yep.
okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the 2 sides of the building. All those in favor?
Ron?
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna abstain from this. But I guess I throw my opinion out there, even though I won't be voting on the issue. I'm more than willing to take the chance that a reputable sign installer, with the instruction that they don't have to, that they can't anchor into the brick. I feel comfortable with an advisory thing as opposed to an outright denial. But again, I'm not gonna vote, so it's really up to the rest of the commissioners.
Oh, that
Paul,
makes sense to me, but conduit to get power out there is what I'd be worried about. Fasteners and mortar seems like a pretty easy caveat. But how do you get a conduit or a pipe out there to get power to it if it's lit?
Well, but the question I think we have to ask ourselves as a commission is, so if somebody wants to put signage on a historic building and they have to core drill through one brick to get a piece of conduit out to power a sign, are we really gonna reject that based on the potential to damage one brick? I think that's where we do ourselves a disservice, maybe.
Yeah, I think we need to know exactly what they're going to do on that north side. How the sign's gonna be attached, how the electrical's gonna be run.
I concur
If
and,
we say, yeah,
I
we say,
concur with
okay,
Susan.
you can do it, but you just go through mortar. What's our recourse if they ignore, they go, oh, I didn't know about it. Geez, I didn't get that memo. What's our recourse if they've gone through brick in numerous places?
So I'd like to
damage is
maintain as
done.
is, given what Susan says, I agree. I'd like to maintain my motion about outright rejection with just the side recommendation. They come back, as Susan said, with detail.
That, I would second that.
That was Steve that said that? Okay, well, having a motion and a second to approve the first two sides, but not the third side, not the historic side. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Note that Paul is abstaining. Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? So the motion carries to allow the two sides to go forward and the third side to at least come back with more information. So to that third side denied, the historic side. Liz, you understand that, right?
I do.
Okay, thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay. Item F on the agenda, informational. Who's taking this? Stephanie
Sure we
or
will.
Jason?
Yes. Let's see, COAs. Here they are. I think that we talked about the 705 South Adams and City Hall last time. These were a part of the approval process. Did a garage roof at 820 South Jackson. Had a driveway at 1126 South Quincy. 622 South Madison may look familiar. That came before us for a removal for that chimney. That was denied. The applicant has since come around to repairing it. So we approved that repair at a staff level. And then the roof at 410 Porlier. And those were all the staff COAs that we've had.
Okay. Staff update.
A few things. So we are underway on phase 7 of the intensive survey update. Jason and Rowan did field work last week on that. So that's all finished. So we should be moving forward, hopefully with a public meeting for that at our landmarks meeting in December. Tomorrow and Friday is the state preservation conference. Jason and I will both be there. I believe Rebecca has signed up to attend. Jason and I are giving a presentation there on building a city's preservation ethic.
Oops.
So, you know, which we did really well about 5 years ago, and now it's just crumbling before our eyes. But we are giving a presentation on that tomorrow, so that should be fun. And then I believe Jason has an update for you all.
I do. I am both excited and sad to say that I've accepted a full-time employment position with Stantec. I'm in their environmental services group as an architectural historian. That means I'll be decreasing my weekly involvement at the city of Green Bay, but remaining available to write Landmarks Commission COAs and to provide input as requested. Just more of a weekend thing, not a couple times a week thing. So
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations and good luck to you.
You know, I was gonna say that I quit my job because I can't stand working with Ian anymore.
He's not so bad.
He beat you to it.
He Yeah, he won.
So
Yeah.
another thing we have, you can see we have a new commissioner, Steve. He worked with Ian at Shoulder, so our replacement architect. We are going to be doing a sit down, Steve and I, to go over the, you know, how the Landmarks Commission works, all of our policies, everything's been sent over, but just a little bit more of a ask and answer question session. So we don't really get a lot of turnover on this committee, so which is great to hear. I mean, I think it's full of a lot of really passionate people and really knowledgeable people. So welcome, Steve.
Stephanie or Jason, do you have an update on the city council meeting last night?
Yeah, thank you. I was just gonna ask that question, Paul.
Yes, we were there until about 8:30 last night. They heard our testimony for the appeal at 1137 South Monroe. They debated for about an hour in closed session, came back and held the item until November, asking for additional information. So yet another circus of appeals for us to sit through, but.
I'd like to take just a moment and commend Stephanie and Jason. I was there last night, prepared to discuss, present, but they did an admirable and commendable job presenting our position, held themselves very well. So it's really great having you two out front representing us. So well done. And secondly, I actually met Brian Johnson for the first time, so he is flesh and blood and not just a bunch of electrons coming through a Zoom platform. And just so you know, I do need to leave. I've got another event, so I will see you guys next month.
Okay. Well, that's good because the next item is actual date of next meeting is Wednesday, November 15th. And without anything else, we will adjourn. Jason, if you could hang on, I got to ask you something about nothing to do with the Landmarks Commission. It'll just be a second.
I do need a motion for adjournment.
Oh, motion for adjournment. I'll
Second,
make a motion to adjourn.
a second.
All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed to adjourning? Okay. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.